Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Incubation Cell at IIT Madras is the institute's umbrella body for cultivating, aiding and supervising numerous innovation and entrepreneurship projects. Let's know all about it from the CEO, Dr. Tamaswati Ghosh.
We started almost 11 to 12 years back, and in 2013, that's when this whole idea of having a deep tech incubator at IIT Madras, this whole idea vision was launched. The objective on a short-term basis was primarily to support innovators from the institute, whether faculty or students, and provide them a very integrated support to help them to create businesses. It was a very simple objective. Very soon we realized that there is a lot more that we can do, right? It cannot be just institute-centric, right? The vision is much larger. So we started very small, at a gradual steps, and 12 years down the line, this is an ecosystem that is now home to over, I think I'd say close to 350 odd startups. We have companies here that are working primarily in deep technology areas. So we are talking about startups that are working in core engineering sectors, in areas of manufacturing, robotics, e-mobility, automotive sectors. Even in the software space, we have companies working in the AI, ML, now the buzzword metaverse, many in the health tech sector. We also have companies that are more socially oriented, so looking at social impact, but leveraging technology. So companies working in agri-tech, edu-tech, skill development. So we've come a long, long way, where in 2013, when IIT Madras Incubation Cell started, we had about 10 to 15 startups that came directly out of the institute, some students, some faculty who had come together with some technology innovation, looking to commercialize. And now we have companies not at all centric to IIT Madras, but rather, I would say majority, over 55% of our companies have nothing to do with IIT. They have no IIT. I'm talking about pan-IIT pedigree, completely externals, where they are working on really futuristic technologies with a problem, certainly a problem they're trying to solve, very much India-centric. And of course, tomorrow, as they grow, their product solutions become suitable for global markets as well. So built for India, but having global market in mind, right? And we are not just talking about technology here and technology innovation, creating a lot of IPs, which our startups do, of course. But we are also looking at commercial success, because that's when you have scale, the reach, the impact that we talk about, right? Whether it's impact at the last user side or impact through wealth creation or impact through job creation, right? You need to be commercially successful. So the 350 odd startups that we have incubated in the last 10 to 12 years are today valued at over 38,000 crores. And this is based on investments that they have raised from the market, which is angel investors to venture capitalists. And this is something we track through the journey of the startups that we have incubated. So 38,000 crore valuation. Many are in the market generating revenue. So last year, I think the cumulative turnover was almost close to 2,000 crores. Um, some are paying tax to the to the government and generating employment. I think direct jobs created by a 350 odd startups is over 7,000, and indirect we don't even. It's very difficult to keep track of that. So commercially viable startups, and here our motto is, of course, deep tech, technology innovation, but we are helping the individual first time. Many are first time entrepreneurs. Some are seasoned, but majority are first time young entrepreneurs in the age group of 20, 30, 20 and 30 years old, that bracket primarily. Helping them to create commercially viable businesses, which very soon in the future becomes sustainable and are able to scale within India, and some go beyond India. We also have our first unicorn. Which is a great, not that we run after numbers here, but it's a great inspiring story for many of our young startups where these are difficult sectors to be in, right? When you're talking about robotics and making it commercially not just viable but successful, right? You're talking about healthcare, when you're talking about in the energy sector, renewables, right? Where you're developing not just software services, but you're talking about hardware with software relevance, of course, to be able to stay at it with that diligence, to be able to, for the entrepreneurs, these young people that are technologists by practice, by interest, and having to then create, a commercially viable company where you're able to employ people, pay them, and then expand, sell your products, make your customers happy, making them return, that retention of customers, and then scale beyond just your region, other states, beyond the country. It's a great story. So we are very proud about the first unicorn that came out of our IIT Madras incubation ecosystem, Uni4, which today is last year's valuation was $2.5 billion. And now they have presence all over the world, headquartered in US now, but continue to have a very strong presence in India. They have a fairly large team still within the IIT Madras Research Park. And there are many such stories. Another I would talk about is Aether Energy. Beautiful story. The Tesla, the two-wheeler of India. We have Agnikul, one of the pioneers in the space tech area. We have Planis Technology, again, underwater robots, one of the pioneers. And many more such stories. We have NeoMotion, who are trying to make a huge mark in the assistive technology space through their motorized wheelchairs, trying to beat the import culture of our country, when it comes to healthcare. So technology, that too, at par with whatever is being in globally, then making it commercially viable, making sure it reaches the end users, and then making the necessary impact and solving a critical problem within the country. So this is sort of the story of IIT Madras Incubation Cell. And as the incubator CEO, as well as my fairly large team now, we started with just 3-4 members in 2013. Actually, I was the first employee. It was Professor Ashok as the founder, and then myself. That's how we started IIT Madras Incubation Cell. And we grew as a startup, really. So I kind of relate to our founders much more than many of my colleagues, because that's how we built Incubation Cell. Even though we are a Section 8 company, non-profit Section 8 company, we always, did not depend on grants, did not, go out there to government schemes to help us, support our operations. We got very little grants at the very beginning, about I think couple of crores. compared to what incubators get these days. But started lean. Our only agenda was to help these entrepreneurs, these people, because at the end of the day, successful businesses are all due to the people, not so much the technology, right? Of course, tech is important, business models are important, but it's the people. So our focus has always been to develop people, and that's how we started, worked with each and every individual, founders. Started small with 10, 15 companies, grew. One of the main things that we are very proud of, and that's one of the key focus areas in our incubator, is the mentoring support that we provide to our startups. Of course, as any other incubator, as you would see in the country, there are certain standard things which is given, right? You will get space, you will get certain access to consultants, you will get access to some little seed funding, and that's something that we provide, certainly, at par with all the incubators. But what we have focused on all these years is to make sure that every startup gets the right inputs and mentorship when it comes to the business, building a business, running a business, commercialization strategy. Because being a deep tech incubation ecosystem, the founders or the entrepreneurs that you're dealing with are primarily engineers, scientists, technologists, right? With very little exposure to the business, running of business, and the commercialization of things. So what we have done over the years is to create and strengthen and then expand our mentor network. And these are individuals that, out of their own interest, they have committed their personal time, and we don't compensate, we don't pay, there is no monetary compensation for any time that they spend with us. They have sincerely spent time with us over the years. Many are our alumni of IIT Madras. Many are industrialists, heads of industries. Individuals like Mr. M.M. Murugappan, who's the chairman of the Murugappa Group. We have individuals like Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, Mohandas Pai, Mr. Ramraj, individuals like that, as well as large number of our IIT Madras alumni association who have been great mentors to our young startups and really help them through their journey, and whatever may be the issue. Could be at a strategy level issue, could be at people's level issues, could be even founder disputes. So that as you develop people, the individuals, the companies, grow by itself, because these are the people running the show, right? And then, of course, connects to industry is very important. So as you will see, as you spend more time here at the incubation cell and the larger campus, which is the IIT Madras Research Park, which is the innovation hub of IIT Madras, you will find how diverse the ecosystem is, where you not only see the 300 odd startups that I spoke about that are here, I would say 95 or 96% are physically here. We also have presence of large number of industries, from public sector majors to private sector multinationals that have their R&D centers at the research park. And that enriches the ecosystem. And that's where we get our first level industry connects to our startups, who give them valuable inputs very early on. They are their first people they go to as their validation partners, as their first customers. And maybe someday strategic investors or acquisitions may happen. We also have over the years developed a large investor network, because that is also very critical, particularly so because we're dealing with deep tech companies here. It's not that easy, particularly in India, to have startups working in these sort of very niche areas. I call it niche because you don't have as many as you would see in the software industry, right? To get capital, not just any capital, but patient capital. So it's not highlighted enough, but for Imagine companies that are working in the space tech. It takes them years before they actually commercially become viable, right? So a lot of that patient investor support is required. Companies that are working in the health tech sector, for example, in the energy sector, e-mobility, all kind, right? So we've over the years developed that kind of network of investors that are more kind of favorable and understanding, more patient about the investment that they do. And it's not just about the money, but also many of them, we are thankful in our network, also play a strategic role, a role of a mentor, advisory role. Some become part of their board as well and have more hands-on kind of role in the company. So we try and pick such people more and more, and of course the generic investor pool that we need to. So what I'm highlighting is over the years, in the last 10 years, we've tried to bring in the right resources, the right kind of people from across sectors, because we are dealing with companies that are coming or working in a diverse set of areas, and try and connect them and monitor that connection, monitor the progress of the companies, and make interventions in the right moments. That is also very important. So if you'll see here, this is something that has been highlighted, particularly this year at one of our board meetings, and we were also quite taken aback by the figure. 82% of our startups are alive, some quite successful, and some actually quite, I would say, in the market sustainable, which is very, very large number as opposed to wherever you go in the world, right? So this has been our 12 years journey, where 82% of our startups are active, to say the least, and viable, many commercially successful, and it's a big reason for this is the personal touch with which, and the personal relationship that we build with each of our startup founders, and the strong mentor association with each of these startups. And it doesn't end with the 2 years and 3 years, usually the incubation programs that you would see. It's a lifelong. As long as they want us, we are there. Many of our large companies like the Uni4 or the Aether I spoke to you about, or MediBuddy for that instance, I think they've gone beyond the startup stage, right? But they still remain connected with the ecosystem. We are still working with them. In fact, some of our, if I can call them our alumni, graduated startups, but really alumni really of this, they are now mentoring us, mentoring our startups. Some are on the board of the IIT Madras Incubation Cell. 2 of our fairly, matured, companies, founders are on the board. So I think it's a very, very dynamic, very integrated, well-connected ecosystem, which is expanding every day.